I've been very vocal about this. I've been avoiding almost every live action Disney remake, especially The Little Mermaid that just came out.
It's so personally offensive to me as a redhead to have been
Yes, okay. I
replaced.
I wanted to bring this up. How do you feel about the cancelization of gingers and redheads in Hollywood?
Literally, like, why is it? I mean, why? It's always redheads. Mary Jane in Spider Man was a redhead too, you know.
Yeah.
And listen, I don't have a problem with Zendaya or this other black girl who are both beautiful women. But if we're gonna be so fixated on representation or whatever, like I don't know. Here's the thing. I feel like it's actually insulting to black people to have them just be like these like sort of fungible characters in stories that they themselves would say are like not for us or whatever. Like I think
Mhm.
that's why Black Panther was actually so powerful for so many people, was because um it was a story that was kind of, that was not pandering in that way. It was like, well, I mean, you could say that it pandered in several different ways, but it wasn't this sort of like replacement of like, we're just going to include a token black person for the sake of it, to make you happy and to let you know that we're doing diversity. It's like, well,
Mhm.
what about creating new stories, or better stories, or stories, about the black experience, because we, if that's important to you, then let it be important to you. I just don't understand why we have to rewrite all of the stories that have already occurred in this new lens that's just totally improper to the story itself, especially when
Mhm.
it comes to fairy tales, actually, because there's just no place for the modern racial narrative element in ancient, like Grimm's brothers fairy tales. It makes no sense. It's totally, it
Mhm.
completely, it's it completely, it's not just, it's really, gosh, what's the word that I'm looking for? It's just condescending. Like if I were
Mhm.
black, I think I would be upset by that. It's like, really? Anyway.
I think there are a lot of
um
black people who do agree with that opinion,
yeah.
that are upset by this. And no, I completely agree with you. I think yeah, Black Panther was um I mean, a lot of people I feel like in the conservative space kind of poo poo Black Panther, but I do think when I saw it, I was actually wowed by the movie. I thought it was a great story of nobility and doing the right thing, and it was almost inconsequential that the characters were black, which I think should be the case for any film that is not explicitly talking about race. But the movie, yeah, it was a great moment for representation, I think, because yeah, it wasn't about race swapping anybody. It was about telling us an original story about a character that has been in the comics for a while, that wanted their black people clamored for that movie because they could see themselves in the character. Um,
Yeah.
and
And
I
it
do
had
think that
distinctly
most
African elements too.
say that again.
There was,
Sorry.
it had distinctly sort of African like cultural elements.
Right,
um
right.
and and I think that that's good. I think people should be allowed to celebrate their own history, and I think it's sort of like, it's a weirdly like insecure thing to try to insert yourself into somebody else's,
Hmm.
like I feel the same
Yeah.
thing about Bridgerton and all of these things that are coming out, and that they're in, oh my goodness, and the Lord of the Rings and all of it. It's like, well, I mean, this is just, I mean, come on, like European royal history, let's be real
Hmm.
about what those people looked like. It doesn't add anything to the story to blackwash or whatever. And really the peak of the irony of this whole situation, is that the whole complaint and the whole conceit about Hollywood Oscars so white or whatever, is
Hmm.
that Hollywood has like whitewashed stories by inserting white people where they don't belong. Like there's that one movie with George Clooney and Emma Stone. Gosh, I read the book and I never actually saw the movie, but it was a very
Oh,
popular movie. years ago in Hawaii. Took place in Hawaii.
Oh, is it uh Aloha, or I think
Was it something like that? Maybe I think
I
that could
think
be
you might
right.
be
Yeah.
confusing two different movies because George
Am I
Clooney was in The Descendants.
The Descendants?
That
That's what
was
I'm
in
talking about.
Hawaii. Oh, that's
Yeah,
okay. Was Emma Stone in
yeah,
that one?
yeah. I think Emma Stone was in it, and there was
Oh.
controversy because in the book she was ethnically Hawaiian, and then this white
Oh,
girl.
I'm trying
And
to.
am I right about that? You can totally fact check that. That's fine. And honestly, I'm okay with that. Like, be accurate to the history, to the book, whatever. Whoever that person was, let it be who that person is. But
Yeah.
that has to apply. That principle kind of has to apply all the time. Um,
Oh. Oh, yeah. Okay. So it
you
was.
see what I'm saying? Was
It
I
was
wrong
a.
about that?
It was Aloha with Bradley Cooper, Emma Stone, Rachel McAdams. Um.
I
It
I
was
know
based
the
on.
Descendants is the book that I'm talking about, though.
Hmm.
Who was the female in the Descendants?
Well, Aloha has the whitewashing controversy.
Oh, I see. Then I could be mixing that
Yeah,
up.
because the Descendants is that was Shailene Woodley and George Clooney. Um,
Oh, okay. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah,
I s- yeah,
I
no,
just
I did.
the
I
only reason
mixed
I
up.
remember that is because I'm originally from Nebraska, and the guy who directed that is from Nebraska. It's like one of the unsung heroes locally as a
Okay.
filmmaker. So
Oh,
I
wow,
was
that's
trying
really
because I almost got those mixed up too.
yeah.
But yeah,
And it came out at the same time as well. But
right, yeah,
regardless, you understand what I'm saying. Like,
I do,
I think
yeah.
that a sort of schizophrenic attitude toward race in movies, and it's just not a healthy one.
Hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. If Hollywood focused on stories about different ethnicities, different cultures, different skin colors, I think it's the least interesting thing about people. But if you want to focus on skin color, fine. But tell original stories and don't put anybody else down in the process. Like I feel like the last Black Panther movie, I never saw it, but apparently there was a lot of more of the same from the last movie, but a lot of people said like, oh, there's like several scenes where they deliberately go out of their way to put down white people, and it's like, why? Why do we need to do that? Why can't we let movies exist and it? Because I feel like that makes the racism argument like even more prevalent. I always show people that Morgan Freeman clip of him talking about Black History Month, and it's like I don't want a Black History Month. And he's like, well, how are we going to
Mm.
fight racism if we don't talk about Black history? It's like, well, stop talking about racism, and it goes away. And I completely agree. If we stop talking about racism and stop acting like every single person who has pale skin is a racist just simply based on their existence, we won't have
Right.
this issue. It's a it's a false issue, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
anyways, we
it's really created this extremely chilling effect in people's personal lives. People feel like they can't just openly say what they think. And
hmm
also, I think it's created a real chilling effect in writers' rooms where people feel compelled to write things that they may or may not think, but they know it's the politically correct thing to say. And it just makes movies so bad.